Alright, let's start. Alright, so hello, people who got on the recording. We're ranking these without ranking all the weapon kits right now. Basically, I'm assuming if you play the weapon, you can play all of your weapon kits. For some of them, they're more relevant than others, obviously, but I'm just going to be ranking the stronger kits, and like if the other kits are noteworthy yet higher up, I'll probably mention it. And then one more thing for this list is, what is it? Everything A tier and higher, I'm actually going to order. I'm going to try to order all of the, like, weapons I would consider, like, really good. And then below that, I don't care. Right, so I'm going to kind of divide this tier list into two halves. I'm going to start with, like, the lower end. And then B tier is, like, kind of weird. I'll start with, like, C and D. I'll get the weapons out of the way that I don't really foresee having much of a future outside of balance changes. So we can kind of speed through those. And then I'll talk about the kind of, these are like more arguable ones or weapons that fell off, and then we'll get to like our top tiers. That's kind of the order we'll go about this. We got Zelda and Jill in the background. If the audio levels need adjusting, let me know, because it's all done live. And then finally, I put D and F tier together. There's like a gap between some of the weapons in this tier. Like I'm going to put Brellas in this tier. Like let's just get this out of the way. I'm going to do this right now. Boom, boom, boom. Like some of these are usually probably higher end of this, but this is basically two tiers in one because I just want this tier list as neat as possible. So like we're gonna put like Sploosh here, Silver Arrow, the Nova obviously can go here. Get like our obvious picks, the weapons that just always go here. I could put Blob here. Like Blob is like a D tier. Like this is like more closer to F. This is like closer to F, stuff like that. We're gonna put all of them like that. So that's how I'll be doing it, I guess. There's fewer tiers in this video, so it's gonna be different, I guess. But that's my like bottom of the barrel weapons right now, I guess. This is kind of like, I don't know, very few of these are like actually F, but yes. And then, I don't know much to say about these. H3, I haven't seen anything with its new kit to indicate that it's better. I haven't seen the weapon picked at all. It seems like there's just a bunch of better bubble weapons right now and a bunch of better strike weapons. Maybe it can fight better, like that's the argument, is the strike one can fight better than like a Neosplash, but I haven't seen it. Flingza, I mean, expected drop-off. This was like a missile weapon, and now we have Pro, so like all the missile weapons that were better because, oh look, I have 10 missiles, drop off. Swig. Yeah, I believe Swig could be higher, but I don't see any reason why anyone would push it. I know like Omega really likes the weapon, but like I don't know if I'll see anyone doing like a run with this weapon. It's definitely better with this kit now. Dynamo, it's like picked for like 3 maps. I don't think it's really worth outside of those stages, like a Humpback or Flounder or whatever. Squiffer, still seems like it's a nightmare to build around with comps. Kits are still a little inconsistent in terms of their value, to be honest. Heavy. Solid main, actually. Unfortunately, gets, like, really bullied by Pen. Does not have a relevant kit. Hydra. I like Hydra's kit a lot. I like honestly, like, most of the Hydra kits are pretty solid. But the weapon hasn't been shown to be able to overcome its speed issues, so I'm unsure it can go much higher than this. I saw like a few people hyping it up. I think even I hyped it up a little bit, and then nothing really happened. Ballpoint, nothing really new here. Just the continued drop-off of matchup hell for that weapon. The ballpoint could maybe arguably be higher. I could see ballpoint being higher than those. Actually, I'm gonna put ballpoint higher. This is probably like not fair to rank it along those. Let's see, Rapid Deco. I think this is fair. It's kind of dropped off as well, but it's like, it's not bad by any means. I'm gonna put Painbrush here. Painbrush is like another weapon I think could be higher. Could be like this one. I've seen people use the Zuka kit just because the output is really high. In fact, the Zuka kit might be the one that's better to put here. Because this is 192. Yeah, you know what? I'm gonna do that. Let me grab Zuka one. I'm gonna rank the Zuka one. Because I think having a 180p special with no cooldown, like, even having the weaker sub, I don't think is... Like, I think Wall is the weakest sub on this weapon. But I think the special output of a 180 Zuka is just better than anything else it has. Like, playmaking-wise. So, yeah. Sea Dowser. If it could paint, it'd be higher, for sure. But doesn't paint, so I think that's, like, probably the max it goes right now. Alright. Our ranking up. Let's see. B tier. Other weapons I want to talk about. L3. I think L3 is, like, kind of okay. I mean, this kit is not bad. The burst combos help a lot with it. I think more than the swap bomb combos. Stand throw is decent. I think it's just mostly outclassed by Vimy. Vimy is like seen as much stronger of a main right now. Has the same kit. So I think it's struggling. I think this is like clearly a main weapon problem. Like the kit's not amazing, but like if Vimy can see use, like solid use, and it has the same kit, then like this has to be a problem with the gun. Otherwise, I think people would simply be picking this gun. Bamboo. I don't see much of the arguments for this weapon nowadays. It's faster. I think it still has some really good midline matchups. But I, like, have the same problem I always have, where I don't really see a comp that makes this weapon feel, like, really broken. And then the other problem is I think Bamboo's kits both kind of suck. This could, like, high-key be one of the weapons that gets, like, giga buffed from getting a third kit that's good. I think. So, maybe there's potential there. We'll see. Machine. I like debate moving Machine higher, to be honest. I feel like Machine can't be this bad, but at the same time, it sees literal 0 use. If it wasn't this bad, I feel like Bucket players would flex to it a little bit. But I don't know. Maybe it could be higher than this. Maybe it couldn't, but I don't really care. C-Explo, here purely off potential vibes. But I think Splashdown on the anchor just kind of doesn't work. Which is kind of my same thoughts about this weapon here, Jet Squelcher, when we talk about it, which is... I think the main is interesting. I think Jet even has a better sub. Like, I think the burst on it is crazy, but... Like, even as better as Triple Splashdown is, I don't really see the utility really working out for it. Like, there's a lot of emphasis on mid-fight specials right now being stronger, but none of that's translated into any of the Splashdown options being, like, a lot better. We occasionally see, like, end parry on maps like Urchin. That's, like, about it. I feel like we should be seeing much more if that trend was supposed to be as positive as it was. I'm gonna put Luna here. I haven't seen as much out of Luna recently, but the few times I've seen it, it, like, holds its own weight a lot better than people give it credit for. Its kit is still very solid. So, I mean, it's not bad, I think. Octobrush. Octobrush is probably next. Similar thoughts to Luna, really. I think there's better options. I think it's a little short-ranged, but it clearly, like... It clearly holds its own weight enough in the matches I see it being picked in to where I wouldn't put it lower. Tetraduli. Tetra could honestly go lower, but I don't see it being as weak as the weapons underneath it, personally. But we basically don't see this weapon at all anymore. Wellstring, again, weapon we don't see very much, but, like, it can't be that bad, in my thoughts. And then Incline. I've moved Incline up a little bit compared to last time here. I think that the Incline run was kind of interesting, but I feel like I'm seeing Bow hold its own weight more in top-level matches the few times I see it. The kits are still, like, lacking. I think the Incline player who got, like, top 8 in that area cup also played a bit of the jetpack kit, so I'm assuming you play a bit of both. They just ran, like, 3 mains of charge up, which tells me that this weapon is not gear dependent at all. It doesn't eat anything. But, like, you're still investing into, like, chumps or something, so, like, if they give it, like, a kit buff of some kind, maybe, this could be a lot higher. Maybe the main weapon is better than we're giving credit for. I don't know. But at the same time, like, you know, it's still, like, one top 8 run. It's not, like, anything super insane. But, again, I'm doing the Incline one listed here because that's the one that's doing well. So, like, okay, I'll rank that one. Okay, A tier. I'm gonna go through these weapons in order now. So, everything here will be ordered from left to right. Will be stronger. So let's get the weakest weapon in A tier. And I'm gonna have that be Reflux. So... the reason I have Reflux at the bottom of this tier is the kit and main weapons seem good enough to be this good, just in theory. However, no one's done anything. No Reflux player has shown up in an area cup at all. Haven't seen anyone in the West do anything with it. We haven't seen jack shit from this weapon. So, like, I believe there's potential for it to go higher, but I haven't seen it. And, like, no one's doing it. So, like, maybe it is just too inconsistent or difficult or whatever. So until I see a run, I can't put it over other weapons because pretty much every other weapon we're going to rank on this list has some kind of run. Has some kind of relevant use case at top level. Has someone pushing it. With the exception of, like, one more weapon on this list, which is Junior. And Junior is also here out of obligation. At least it's more proven than Reflux, which is why I put it higher. But I think that realistically, Junior is probably on the way down another tier. But I'm going to put it here out of obligation. V-Blast sees occasional use against specific comps and short-range maps. S-Blast is still better, but there are a few times you could see this weapon get picked. And that's like the trend with a lot of A tiers, so I'll kind of put it there. Firefin / ProChara, there are a few maps I see E-Liter players switch to it. However, I think that E-Liter is still better. If anything, I think the gap is growing. But it seems like enough use for me to put it here. You get the deal. 52, same deal. Carbon Roller is going to be same as well. We don't really see as many carbons these days. So I'm not sure, like, all of the roller reps are kind of like not playing roller right now or not playing the game right now in the case of Japan. Like, I haven't seen like the carbon or roller player do much recently. So it becomes harder to rank them. I do think they've realistically both dropped a little bit, but they're probably still fine. I can't think it's too much lower. Inkbrush. I've been seeing Inkbrush do better lately. I've been seeing more potential with it. I think it has some very interesting comps to work around. I especially like the Narisha team comp I saw with like Dooley and Stamper. I think if they played Bubble Dooley instead of Crab Dooley, and they played Booyah Sword instead of Zip Sword, it would have been like a lot better. I think there's high potential around Brush's stalling. I think Hammer is getting more value in mid-fights these days. Like, Hammer value is just higher right now because there's so much like mid-fight value for it to get like picks in. The main weapon's still a little inconsistent at killing, but it's very good at pulling. The maps make it a little tougher for it sometimes, but it can still happen. So I'd say, like, overall, there's, like, a lot, I think. What's next? Nautilus. Nautilus saw some decent use in Area Cup Crown. I think seeing it, or not Area Cup Crown, in SWS, seeing it being picked a little bit more with, like, Rapid or with Anchorless definitely seems to make the comps a lot better for Nautilus. So I like that idea there for a bit. Like, it does like clearly work better with those comps that can keep up faster. I'm still not seeing any insane value outside of counter picking, but maybe Nautilus is moving up a little bit. Range Blaster. This one is kind of like, we don't see it very much, but I can't see it like dropping off very hard at the end of the day. Like, it's still RB. It's still a very solid weapon. Like, if an S-Blast wanted to pick it, they would probably still do quite well. But there is still very little reason to do so. I think if this weapon gets a better kit, though, it could be much higher on the list. I think it could be back to its former glory if we get, like, a Burst Missile Grim or something like that. So, hopefully we see something in the future, or we see, like, a Kraken buff or Wave buff or something. 96. I think that 96 is better than 52, and I think its results, obviously, are better than 52. But it's a little bit lower than another wall weapon on this list. I do think this weapon's, like, paint is very solid. I think it's good with tent comps. I think that's mainly where you're going to get value out of it. Maybe with, like, Inkbrush or Wiper stuff like Hypernova used to, but then I think your specials become a bit of a problem. But I think the main is still solid. It can be a little slow at times, but very good at tanking. Very good matchup into swords, which is always useful. I don't think it's as good into mint because it is suction. And, like, even Stamper has Autobomb now to deal with it, which is better. But I still think it's, like, enough to be noteworthy. And then finally is VDS. I'll sneak in VDS here. Right? I think that Dually Squelcher is... what's it called? I think that Dually Squelcher is, like, totally fine. So, it's okay. Its mobility is good. It doesn't really have relevant kits and struggles to find quick kills, but it's very good at dragging out engagements. Its paint is still quite high. So it can definitely have value in, like, the hands of, like, the right player, I think. So, that's how I see it. Alright, one higher. S tier. Now we're getting to weapons that have had, like, notable tournament runs at some point. I think Wiper will be at the bottom of this tier for me. Wiper has definitely not gotten as many runs recently, but I feel like the hammer buff has still helped it. I feel like it's still solid. So I think Wipers are okay. I could even see them picking the Zuka kit occasionally, though I don't really see it that often. So I think that Wiper is solid, for sure. Sorella Tent. Mostly Moonlight pushing it. But Tent still seems to get solid value. I think a lot of people agree that it's good for, like, tanking again. Like, working well with wall comps or with something like that. So it seems to be totally fine. Its kit is still very good. I think Zuka is still getting a lot of value in this meta. I think that having, like, more mid-fight weapons might benefit it a little bit more. Like, you can play with Brush or other stuff like that. Mint Decapitator is good with it. Roller's good with it. A lot of powerful weapons that work with it. So I think there's some value there. Squeezer. We see it a little bit, but most of the Squeezer players play other weapons. This is here for a lot of the reasons Range Blaster is here, which is like if a player did pick Squeezer, then they would probably still be able to do well. The main is obviously still pretty solid, but it's also clearly like not worth the investment compared to other options. In this case, a lot of Squeezer players play Splattershot Pro now, which makes sense, obviously, transfer well into that. So I think that's like something we could see a little bit more of, so that's noteworthy for sure. Next up is Gloogadoodly. So Glooga is probably the best wall weapon here that we're talking about. Let's see what we think for the tier 1, by the way. I think Glooga's solid. It really only got that one tournament run, but I feel like compared to something like 96, there's just less holes here. Like, Gloogadoodly has pretty solid paint. I think that the Booyah Bomb on it is a much better special. It's very strong. I think having dually rolls as well as the wall gives you more tools. I feel like Glooga just has a higher skill ceiling compared to a lot of these other wall weapons now. I feel like they have a little bit more they can do. It's still like a weapon with only one guy pushing it, but like, they're able to win still. So, you know, at the end of the day, this thing won a tournament. This thing beat Lobster, and you can't say that about many people or weapons. So, like, I feel like it's due some respect for that. Splatter Shot. So obviously the new mini is much better for Zuka spam, but there's still some maps where you'll use the bomb. There's still some places you could pick it. If you pick it instead of Zimmy, it's not a throw. So Shot is fine. Obviously still dropping off. End Splash is in a similar boat. I think that the strike spam playstyle of End Splash isn't really that worth it anymore. In fact, low-key, I'm going to move this like all the way down here. I feel like it's almost never really worth having this splash and this playstyle anymore, outside of very specific comps. I think that support being more fight-heavy has just hurt End Splash more than anything else. So I don't really see a big reason to pick it these days. Tri-Slosher. We've seen this occasionally, not too much yet, but Tri is very solid here. Tri Nouveau could be picked for a second cooler, or you can pick this one with screen. I think it's very good when paired with Mint, since the weapons can work off each other, and it plays for a lot of short range and threat power. I think that Tri is very good at like forcing trades and engagements, and it has a toolkit that makes up for its lack of range very well. It's also by far the best screen weapon in the game. All of that gives you a lot to work off of. Here is where I'd put E-Leader as well. Obviously, Leader is one of those weapons that, again, requires the right person. We just saw that run with SWS, but, like, if you... What's it called? If you play the weapon and you do well with it and you hit your shots, you can clearly push it far. My worries are about, like, Leader getting counterpicked. Like, I think in Grands, having, like, a no-cooler E-Leader comp against triple support, where they just spammed Crabs and Zukas and Sliders in zone, like, it clearly started to show a lot of its problems, so I think it's, like, too susceptible to counterpicks, and then people will also take you to Urchin. But do not feel bad for the E-Leaders that get taken to Urchin every game, because they will take you to Eeltail right after. They deserve no sympathy. They will pull the same shit against you. So, like, what are you gonna do? Rapid. Rapid gets a little bit of niche use, both with double cooler and without it sometimes. So we've seen it a little bit, mainly again from Lobster recently. And, like, it's rapid. You could also just pick the Whale one. The Whale one is also pretty comparable if you really don't want the double cooler. If you're playing with Pen, that kit can be a little bit more aggressive. So, like, I feel like either way, Rapid's still very solid at bullying a lot of midlines. It can struggle when the fights get very close range, so some maps it's definitely tricky, but on the right stages it's pretty strong, and I think as a solo anchor it's quite good. I think here is where I'd put Dread. I'm tempted to put V-Dread a little bit higher. I think it has higher potential, because the Crab Dread kit is good for covering a lot of the bad slider maps. Meanwhile, this Dread can cover a lot of the bad crab maps. So you don't have to, like, play slider in a lot of the situations it isn't as good at. But Dread still has a lot of comp questions that aren't answered. Like, I don't think Dread is being picked with its most optimal comps, especially Crab Dread. I think it needs more testing with Edit and Rapid. So there's still a lot of unanswered questions. And until those questions can get answered in a meaningful way, I don't think I can put Dread higher. So I'm going to leave it here. And then finally a Zap. I think that Zap is a little bit more solid lately. Less because of improvements to Zap and more just because things like Pen have been toned back a little bit. I think that it's good at enabling Leader. I think it's good at enabling some, like, rapid comps. There's just more reasons to pick it. I think Zap's 30 damage number is good for all the mid-fights going on. I think its mobility is useful for dragging out fights more. So all of that is pretty useful. Yes, this is a zones only tier list. I didn't clarify that, but, like, it transfers pretty accurately to the other modes, I feel. So yeah, basically, that's why Zap's there. I think there's just more reasons to pick it. I think having your support be able to pick Zap for those kind of scenarios is still very solid. Start of S+. At the bottom of S+ will be Roller, so it's definitely dropped off a little bit, but obviously I still think Roller is very strong. I think it is just under-repped. I think it still has a very crazy hitbox. It's still unbelievably good at ledge camping compared to something like Mint. Bubble is still broken on it. It's still very, like, comp dependent, but it clearly works. I think it's just not getting as many results because we don't see the Roller player. Doppeldooley. This one we have been seeing get more results. It's been playing with the Dreadringer comp lately, so we've been seeing more of that. Slider seems to be getting more mid-value fight. I think that Dapple's mobility is very solid. I think its kit is incredibly good. And we also see a bit of Red Dapple for a few small maps like Sturgeon, Flounder, or most notably Urchin, where I think it would also be here for those maps. So ultimately, I think there's a good amount of things going for Dapple right now, so I think Dapple goes here. Splash would also be S+ to me. I think that Splash-O-Matic is solid. Is there a single top-level roller player? Omega still plays it sometimes. I think that Splash goes here. I think that fighting-based supports are better. However, I also think that Splash is capable of being played more aggressive than we typically see in West. I've seen, like, more JP Splashes playing more aggressive. So, like, I think this weapon's clearly keeping up, even if I do see it as weaker than the fighting-based supports, the 3 ones we haven't talked about yet. And we'll get to those in a second. I'm also going to drop Edit here. I know Edit just won. I think the player is really good, and I think Edit is still very solid, but I think Pen is still clearly better. To me, it's just a player skill advantage where they're good enough to make it work, and they have the players that are very good at their weapons. And even then, we didn't see, like, a whole lot of Edit in SWS. We saw, like, more Zap than Edit on the winning team. So I haven't really seen, like, you know, I've seen enough to know it's good, but I feel like there's still more powerful options, clearly. Missile Pro has also dropped off a little bit from the last time I did a ranking. I feel like it's still good, but the lower special output and the tricky stuff for mid-fight is still tough. You do have the best fighting power out of any support. The damage number is still very good. And you also have the Forge Kit and Crab Kit that are both valuable sometimes if you want to flex to it. But I think that it's probably not as worth. Next up is Zimmy. So both Zimmy and Dooley are up next, actually. I'm just going to rank them both. I was, like, very tempted to put both of these into X rank, into X tier. I think they're both very good. But I do think, as of right now, I haven't seen enough of them for me to, like, think that any is, like, the best support. I don't think there's a significant gap between these 3, to be honest. I think there's a bit of a gap between, like, Pro and Splash. And there's definitely a gap between, like, Splash and the next highest support. Like, outside of maybe Dread. Like, maybe Dread could be close to Splash. Like, Dread could make it here, maybe, at latest. But I think, like, these 3 are, like, clearly strongest for sure. Dooley has been doing probably the most in terms of success. We've been seeing a lot with it. It is both a Crab and a Bubble kit, so it has, like, 2 very powerful kits for this type of role. The 30 damage number is very good. The mobility is very useful. Mini has a bit better damage, bit better mobility, bit better range, and it has, like, high special output for a more fighting-based support. But I think that its kits are a little bit more, like... I think its kits are a little weirder, generally. I think Dooley's kits are a little bit stronger than the mini kits. So that's kind of where I would put the order like this. And then, yeah, Mini's another weapon we see, like, all 3 of its kits. So you'll see, like, the Beacon Mini sometimes if you have a comp that likes jumps. Or, like, you have something to shred with your Zuka. You'll see Vimy sometimes, all of that. And, oh, wait, I forgot a weapon. I will slip in Booya's Sword right here. I guess. This is where it was supposed to be. I just kind of forgot about it. I think Booya's Sword is very strong. I think Zip Sword is not far behind it. I think both are pretty good. However, it's just not really doing as well. Like, we haven't seen any major sword results. Even with this new kit, everyone was like, oh my god, we're giving it a 190 Booyah. It's crazy broken. And it's definitely good. It definitely shouldn't be 190. But, like, the sword players haven't started winning because of this kit either. So even if this kit is a buff, it's still not enough. And it's more consistent, and it's still not doing as well. It's, like, clearly a strong weapon, but it has to still be overrated or else it'd be doing better. And that brings me to my X tier. I think the order on this is very loose, and I don't have a whole lot to say because these weapons are very established. But if I had to pick an order, my order would be Bucket, S-Blast, Mint, Pencil. Get delete this here. So, first off, I think that pencil is, like, fairly inarguable. It is by far the most popular weapon, like, in general. I know an SWS bucket was a little more common, but, like, almost every tournament's gonna have pencil at the top. By far has the most top-level reps. It's been around for a while. It's a centerpiece to a lot of comps. I can't see it being argued any different. As for Mint, I put it second because I think Mint is almost always going to be something that will make your comp better compared to these two. I think that the bit of extra paint with the supports that don't paint as well, I think that bubble for more mid-fight potential, and I think Mint's heavy object damage and ability to deal with things like Stamp very well for those mid-fights are all very valuable. So I think there is just a few too many things going for Mint that if you're good enough, it's probably worth it. And then you would have another AoE weapon. Both of these are fine. They both have good entries. S-Blast is a bit better mid-fight. Both have good bombs. Both have high damage. I mean, they're fairly standard. Like, we kind of already know about both of these weapons. And that's my ranking. So again, in terms of the kits, like, other relevant kits are listed similarly. It's just going to be, you know, I want to keep the list less cluttered. I think this looks a lot nicer. And yeah, everything here is ordered left to right from ATR higher. So left is stronger on these going in that order. And that is my full list. Thanks for watching.